So here we're at CinemaCon right now, and on Thursday, I guess the world is finally going to see footage from Everest.
Yeah.
What are you planning on showing?
I think they're showing a trailer. You know, that's my understanding. But as it's not in my control, and I can only hope that I'm right.
You're probably right. How involved were you? Obviously, you're still cutting right now, or finishing.
Well, I'm done cutting with-ish, you know. But in this, you know, digital age of cinema, you can actually recut the film for every screening of it, you know, almost, because it's different. So yes, but we are kind of officially locked, picture locked.
Okay, you are.
Yeah.
So is the music done, or
The music has been recorded, and we have mixed the movie, but we're still grading and doing some 3D work on it.
Oh, but you'll be done in the next few weeks then.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
so look at that.
Yeah.
I believe your release date is September 18th.
That's correct. Yeah.
Has there been any talk about possibly maybe going to TIFF or Telluride to premiere the movie?
I have no idea about that, to be honest. I would love to. I'm a big fan of Telluride. I have my movie Jar City there, and I love being there. It's a great festival. But I'm sure there will be some. You know, there are some, you know, talks about different festivals at the start. I think it has more to do at the moment. It has to do with what fits the schedule of taking out the movie. You know, where they want to present it.
I'm just shutting off the phone. Talk a little bit about this movie has a crazy cast. I mean, it's a who's who of Hollywood. Talk a little bit about the casting process and maybe who got on first and how you were able to put together this cast.
Well, we had a, you know, it's a project that's been going on for quite a long time. You know, before I came on board. You know, I already had been 2 or 3 years before we started shooting it, but before that it had been, you know, with you know, different filmmakers, and you know, there was plans of doing it 2004, and then, you know, we started up, you know, again, and we got it to a place where we could shoot it. But during that time, there was different ideas of casting. You know, I was engaged with Bale for a while, Christian Bale. He was going to do it with me, and then Exodus came along, and they were, you know, they were both paying better, and they were ready to go, and you know, but you know, so there were talks of other big actors taking the lead of this movie. But what I was really interested in doing was, and it was creating an ensemble of more like an even cast of great actors, you know, and managed to convince, you know, Universal to go with that, you know, because of course it's always easier to go with like one big actor that, you know, like really sells the movie and all that. But I really wanted to give it authenticity, so the characters would be like having a, you know, Australian playing, even though it's a New Zealander the lead, it still is close enough for me, you know, and Americans playing Americans and so on and so forth, as much as I possibly could, you know, and really wanted to get authenticity and the right cast, the right people in it, which often happens when you're too bound to get movie stars that they might not be right for the character, you know, because, you know, there are other things that become more important, such as the box office value and such things. But we got rid of all that, you know, and I got the cast really who I wanted, and I really appreciated that. It was a lot of, you know, kind of talking and convincing, you know. I cornered someone, you know, like at a premiere of Fast and Furious 6, I remember I cornered the head of the International in Universal, and I put him in the corner. I just told him that, you know, yeah, I think he just wanted to get back to the party, you know, so he said yes. You know? But in the end, you know, I got that, but of course then you got to get those people, and it was kind of, you know, it took a lot. Some of the people didn't, you know, actually come until we started shooting, you know, so we just didn't give up on trying and finding the right people, and you know, kind of the quality people that, you know, I met, you know, even people like Emily Watson, which I've loved for a long time. You know, and there are people in smaller roles that, you know, that are incredibly strong actors. You know,
you filmed on location, and you went for it. Describe one of the crazy days that you thought, I don't know if this is going to come together.
Well, there was almost 3 hour day, to be honest. You know, first of all, I thought, you know, wrangling Mark Wahlberg and Denzel Washington was a hard job, you know, but when you got 10 of those in the room and nobody knows who is number one, really, because they're all kind of even, it's constantly more complicated. Having actors of that stature in -30 Celsius, 4,000 meters, playing an extra for a whole day because he's a part of the team, but it's not really his scene, is also very challenging because this, it's like, do I really have to be here? But what we started doing is that I thought also for that I was really happy that we could do that. Is that we started the journey as it starts in the movie. So we started going to Kathmandu with the whole cast. We started walking. Basically, we flew to Lukala, and they were just as afraid as the characters in reality of that airport. It was the most scary airport in the world, most dangerous airport in the world. We got up there and we started walking up to Everest. And we had to, you have A-list stars from Hollywood who don't have their assistants because we couldn't take them. There was no way. There was, just the luggage and everything is too heavy to get up there. And there are no vehicles allowed, so it's just donkeys, and we could get helicopters with some stuff, but they can't land, they can't even drop off stuff. It's a day walk to a place where they can drop off some of the cameras, and then we gotta carry them with donkeys, And we did all that, and they were sleeping basically in electric blankets, in the night, because the lodges that we were sleeping in were unheated, and this is what was in January on Everest,
I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I could have done that myself.
I don't think most of the people there did think so, and neither did I. But I never told them I was in doubt. So I just, you gotta fake your way through it and just be the biggest macho on the mountain. Just drag them through it. And there were moments of people saying, I think I made a mistake. Can I just go home? And I'm not making it up. There were actually moments of that. People were just getting really scared, they couldn't handle this, and it was getting really cold and really heavy. But in the end, that journey, because of course we had to shoot then on different places and location in Italy, and because you can't get until you only can get so high, and then no insurance company will actually support you. And so but just having that journey and getting everyone together, it just got everyone to the basics of filmmaking. And after it's like you do something terribly difficult. Like, by the way, when people go up Everest, it's horrible. When we come down, you're so happy with your effort and what you achieved. And that was the feeling of these people. Like, they have really done something that they didn't think they could.
Sure.
And then it was a whole different game playing them together. And I think so for some reason they were a little. In the beginning, some of them were like, "What is he talking about?" I was saying, "I want to work from chaos." What the hell is he talking about?
Well, I'm curious. Have you test screened the movie? Have you shown it to people? And what did the audience tell you? Did you make any changes based on the test screenings?
Well, it's for me. Test screenings are not necessarily what the ride. I'll read everything and I'll take everything in and listen to people, but. There are comments like, I didn't love the ending because everyone dies. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly. So you gotta, take that with a grain of salt, And what I really feel is that sitting with, and I think it's a great opportunity, sitting with people, like let's say 400 people watching your movie unfinished, and you manage to actually feel the movie and you see it. It's the weird thing about filmmaking is that you sit there, you edit, you work, and you know what you see and you think you know everything. But then you actually, and maybe with only one person, when you watch it, you certainly your experience goes through that person. So you start watching it through and it's an energy in a room. It's just really weird. You see the movie differently when you have people with you. And having 400 people with you, you actually see it through the 400 people. And you feel the audience, and you actually realize, wow, why didn't I see that?
Sure.
Because you can feel the question, they didn't get it, or don't understand, which wasn't intentionally like that. Something just not clear enough, or doesn't make total sense. Suddenly you see it. You couldn't see it. You sit there for like 3 or 4 months watching your film, and you just can't see it until.
Yeah, well, it's also. I've heard this from other filmmakers. You've seen it 1,000 times. You can't judge it anymore. It's beyond judging because it's too close. How long is the final movie, and how long was your first cut?
I think my first cut was probably 2.5, 2:40, and then it's just under 2 hours right now.
Was your first cut an assembly, or was
I'm talking about assembly.
Yeah, totally.
I usually come in pretty, I've never been excessively long when I shot movies. I don't know why that is, I can't explain that, but that's not a problem when it comes to like I have to take something out or get rid of something, or usually it just naturally gets to that. I always said it's a 2-hour movie, You know,
Sure.
it's a little less probably with the titles and everything. It's probably 2 hours with this, you know, the end credits, which I haven't seen it with yet. So it's probably around 2 with all that. But I always said from the beginning, it's like 110, 2-hour movie, you know, and that's the story because you feel what the story is, and what is the volume of it and what it needs in time. And usually you have a kind of a good feel for that before you make the movie.
I believe you just did a show in Iceland, which there's a trailer online.
It's not a trailer online yet.
Oh, what's available online?
Nothing.
Oh, okay, my bad.
But it might be soon.
Oh, I got it. Well, I'm curious. Talk a little bit about what other stuff you're working on right now, and are you gearing up to film something else soon?
Yeah, I have a couple of things in the making. This show you're talking about is called Trapped, and it's a you know, this kind of noir Scandinavian thing that is getting great reception because we've been showing trailers in MIP-TV.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, my bad. That's how my confusion comes on.
The MIP-TV was, and you know, it's selling all over the world, which has never happened with an Icelandic TV show before. And that's, you know, I'm kind of the creator of that show. I did the pilot and the last episode. We're still shooting, but it's going great. I have a offer from Fox, which, well, actually I have a movie, which is a Cascade with Kate Blanchett.
Sure.
That's one thing, and I also have my Viking movie, which Universal is
we talked about that a while ago.
Yeah,
that Viking movie.
Yeah, and it's still going, and it seems it's moving forward, you know. And
is the success of the Vikings TV show on the History Network helping getting it made? Possibly.
I couldn't tell because I haven't gotten it made yet, but I don't think it's. I think actually it might, and I've been telling people this for quite a while. You know, if you make it historically correct and authentic, there's going to be a huge audience. Because there was recently a Viking show in the British Museum, sold out to the, you know, like you couldn't get a ticket. The Smithsonian had it around the year 2000, biggest show ever, you know, run. In Smithsonian. So there's a huge interest in if you make a real Viking story. I don't think people are interested in some two-horn, you know, big beard, you know, stupid guys raping people. And that's not where we're heading. So the Viking is kind of probably the best thing. The Viking show is probably one of the best things that made on Vikings, you know, for quite a while. The show. So I think seeing the appetite for that should be helpful.
So what do you think? I would imagine after Everest. Especially if the movie hits and people respond to it, I would imagine you're going to have even more choices of what you want to do. So in an ideal world, you're allowed to do what you want to do next. What do you pick?
You know, I wouldn't want to say, you know, that because I would have a lot of difficult phone calls. You know, there's also another project called The Oath, which is an Icelandic movie that I'm planning of directing in Icelandic. You know, it's a smaller movie. It's a fantastic story. It really blew me away. And so even having, you know, the office I do have, I'm still looking towards, you know, doing something more, you know, I'm developing loads of stuff back there in my company. I mean, it's at this point, you know, the offers I'm getting are more than I can actually even read, you know,
Sure.
I you know, for some reason. And I think it's all about now what is the right thing for me to do, like what is the quality that I can get, the material, and also what am I right for? You know, what can I really, you know, what can I put my energy that it will actually make the movie better instead of someone else doing it. So it's like finding the projects that you're right for. You know,
Sure.
That's what my next step would be.
Well, I've always been a huge fan of Vikings, and I do like the show that's on History Channel. So that's for me something very. And I think I asked you this before.
Well, I'm gonna answer your question like this.
Sure.
Because there are questions before. The Viking project is the reason why I came to Hollywood. And I had this project a long time ago, you know, and I was supported by the Icelandic government, the highest grant ever gotten. I gave it back and said, I'm gonna go like Vikings, you know, rip the Americans off, and get some money to make a kick-ass big Viking movie that hopefully will be a benchmark Viking movie. That's really what I took off. So yes, that is my passion project. It is something that I've written and worked on for a long time, and I would love to be able to do that.
Well, my question about that, and I think I asked you this before, but I don't remember the answer, and maybe I didn't. Are you thinking about having everyone speak native language, and then it would be translated, or because if it was made through Hollywood, do you think it would have to be in English?
The thing is that there's a big twist in me about this, because in some ways nobody really knows what the language was. The literature that we have is 300 years after the events that happened, you know. So therefore, you know, something that they spoke then that nobody will understand and it sounds really corny in Icelandic, for Icelandic audience, for example, isn't even close to what it was, you know. So, and partly one of the lead characters is actually Irish in this movie. So I'm gonna, you know, I've been going back and forth on that, and I will probably make it in English. And I don't think, and I'm not saying this just to be, you know, it's kind of bullshitting my way out of the question. I don't think, in full respect of what Mel Gibson has been doing, for example, which I think is a great filmmaker, you know.
I think Mel Gibson is a very talented filmmaker.
And I think so too. And I, you know, but making movies in a language that are dead is one thing, because people can't really judge it, but it isn't really authentic. Because
I have a question for you.
Because it's kind of, you know, a bullshit language that you created to make that.
Sure. Here's my thing though, and I wish more filmmakers would do it. I think the best example of a native language being made in English was The Hunt for Red October, when they're speaking Russian and they zoom in on the mouth and the Russian becomes English. And you realize they're speaking Russian, but you're hearing English. For me, that's the best that's ever been.
Yeah, but they did that kind of thing in the 13th Warrior, which is a Viking movie. They all got drunk and they started speaking English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so...
I still think Hunt for Red October though.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's many ways of doing it. But at the end of the day, it is a language of... I don't like when you kind of start... I wouldn't want to go and do it all with Icelandic accent, like Russians speaking English, you know, with a Russian accent. I don't get all that. Either you just... I actually like the Gladiator way. There was a fucking Australian playing a Spaniard. I didn't give a fuck, you know.
I didn't care either. No, it's fine. You can swear.
Yeah. So in the end of the day, it's more of a question for me, like get the world right, get the you know, and then, you know, language for me. By the way, language is more a communication tool than anything else.
Sure. Would you characterize the Viking movie as an action film? Would you characterize it as a character drama? How would you describe it?
I would describe this as an action-driven character drama. You know, I mean, if that you know, like it has all the. It's a big movie. It's a bit like Everest in that sense. You know, it has big, sweeping, you know, shots, and at the same time, it will have some really tense moments, but in the end, it's a story about people. And that's really the kind of movies I want to make.
Sure.
That's why I left my country, you know, like, I didn't leave it, but I went on this journey to be able to make bigger movies, but I still don't want to just make big and loud, you know. I want to really make films about people.
My last question for you, does this have a title, the Viking movie, or no?
It has had Vikingur, which is the old word, it's Viking, you know. What was the old word for Vikings, you know,
sure.
and most ancient word for Viking. If that's going to be a problem because of the Viking show, you know, I don't know. That's a big decision if it's gonna legal issues. But I started that project way before they started.
You know, so look, I think that there's a lot of stories to be told in that era. So there's in no way should one show dictate what is done.
And by the way, if anyone has out there a script like Dancing with Wolves or something like that about Native Americans, that's, you know, a dream, an authentic version of that, you know. Sure. That's my dream project. So I'm just sending it out to the atmosphere.
By the way, sometimes that helps to put it into the ether.
Put it out there.
I will say, I'm going to end there and say I'm tremendously looking forward to Everest. I really can't wait to see it. Really nice seeing you.
Thanks, Steve.
Let me hit stop.